The following is a transcript between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am, originally recorded on November 3rd, 2020, under the constellation of Scorpio, through the mental week, examining through the third eye chakra, me. All night I was connected to something that made me feel both tired and comfortable. The being that showed up made me feel this dark pressure of the whole world and find such an incredible peace that I could only let myself relax and sleep, and my whole body melted into the depths. His darkness was so luminous that my being could not interpret if his presence was leading us to death or to peace. And in a way, I could feel that it was both in one feeling. My mind expected something dense, perhaps dark, but where it took us was nothing but light. A light under pressure, a deep light, different from the one that we're used to. We usually see light as coming from the sky, from the sun, and therefore its brightness is related to the subtle, invisible air levitating, to high vibration, whereas its opposite is dark, painful, and dense. But nevertheless, I kept seeing light, only it was different. The shadows shone in a different way. It was like seeing the light in the shadows, the balance and the fullness under the greatness of pressures. The feelings remain in me. My cells still recognize him. I am, because the physical concept of going deep is not the same as the concept from the point of the mental perception. For the mind, the concept of depth is not related to going down, to going into the dark, to burying oneself in wells kilometers below the ground, but going deep implies finding the unity of all things. The subtlety that you usually relate to light is linked to expansion, to amplitude, but it is still the one that creates separation, different options and purposes. For the mind to feel the real, the center, it must go inward. It must put all things back together, and everything that expands shines in different colors, which, when united, generate only one color. If it is matter, together, they will create black. If it is light, together, they will create white. Yes, if you concentrate on the light vision of this spirit, you will see all the colors become one, the pure light. And the pressure of all of the energy, instead of taking you into the shadows, will give you greater clarity. This is the origin of the concept of enlightenment. That is to say that the search for enlightenment is not in ascending toward the heavens, toward the light, because the light is not only up there. I am. The idea you have of light is conditioned to your vision of humanity. With your feet on the ground and your head in the sky, seeing the sun that shines up there makes you consider that to shine like it, you must go up to the celestial plane, that is to say, to the celestial, to the color that rises from the light reflecting in the oxygen, nitrogen, and argon of the atmosphere. Me, it almost kills the magical of the spiritual. I am. It could be. However, I think that it is an eye-opener to be properly spiritual. Spirit comes from the Latin word sparere, which means to breathe. And clearly oxygen, argon, and nitrogen are what you breathe. In a way, the only way to become a spiritually celestial being is to breathe the gases of the atmosphere with the full awareness of being here and now with each inhalation and exhalation. In this way, light is a social and cultural concept of the position of the light in space. Me. What is true enlightenment? I am. Go deep into the light, into the ability to manifest, for the spirit is to become a living being made of carbon and other materials, For living beings, it is becoming precious metals such as gold, platinum, and diamond, also carbon, but under greater pressure. Me, and a higher pressure, the light that discovers more of what I can become. I am. It is thus that a being does not light up when it is freed from a creative potential, but when it manages to radiate from its center under all the pressures. Me. This is why we decided to be born. It is also why we beings who seek enlightenment go through ordeals or martyrdom. I am. Calvary comes from Latin and means skull. The concept means to go deep in a process, so much so that you get to the bones, the foundations that support your body. Martyr comes from the Greek word that means witness, which in turn in Latin means to stand up for something. We could say that the fact that a martyr lives in ordeal means taking the responsibility of going deeper to find the truth. Me. And throwing yourself into that implies a lot of will. That is, throwing yourself into the shadows of suffering, of confusion, all to prove that you can go further. I am. What the human perceives as suffering, the martyr perceives as meaning. That is, a human seeks to survive considering that the only thing he has is his body and the things that his body can accumulate, trying to overcome conflicts in most cases through denial because of the need to find monetary happiness related to physical and emotional comfort. Thus, a common human will take the senses as a tool to identify said pleasure or discomfort, to get rid of the latter as soon as possible. On the other hand, when an individual becomes aware that death does not exist and goes deep into its truth, he is not afraid to face anything, for he understands that the pressure and suffering are nothing more than the accumulation of light, which are the unification of all paths, and in order to fill them all, he must expand his ability to feel to limit. Taking your 5 senses to the maximum goes from being uncomfortable to pleasurable, turning the system upside down and finding orgasm in suffering, finding the light in the midst of shadows. Me. It's hard to imagine, but I understand what you mean. It's like that feeling that many of us sometimes have. For example, a joke so bad that it makes us laugh too much, or a song so horrible that we can't stop humming it. As if the brain collapses, entering a kind of system breakdown, finding a crack through which to see the reverse option. Like when Francis of Assisi saw the light in the sick, in the garbage, and the things that others consider dirty, he saw love and light. I am. That's when one begins to find the path to enlightenment. Therefore, the only path to true enlightenment is to go through and integrate all shadows. This is why you must learn to enter the darkness and the pressure. That is why you must turn your suffering and misery into the greatest allies. And so, with your eyes closed, without fear of anything, you will be able to guide yourself in the flaming shadows like a phoenix. Me. Is that faith? I am. Oh no, that's intuition. Me. What is intuition? I am. It comes from the Latin in and turi, which means interior and contemplation, gaze, observation, respectively. Intuition is the ability to see clearly with your eyes closed, to have a sharp vision in the shadows, to perceive beyond what you think. Intuition is the mother of faith, which finds its origin in the Latin fides, which means trust, to trust something or someone. It implies that once I have had an inner clarity on what I have seen through my shadows, I recognize that I have no choice but to trust my intuition. Intuition is not the daughter of faith, since faith implies blind and unquestioning trusting in something. But to get there, you must have first experienced what it feels like to trust that outside agent. And the only thing that makes you trust something is the internal sensations that give clarity to the vision of things, that is, your intuition. Intuition is not what the human considers. It is not implying feeling that something should be done or some ignorance about a factor, but on the contrary, intuition demonstrates a deep clarity in the causes and effects of something with total fullness. This gives confidence, faith. They say that intuition is much more feminine than masculine. Why? I am. The masculine aspect of existence is positive. It means that it is projected outwards, with which it seeks solutions externally, at a point, objectively, in a more practical and concrete way in the fractals and patterns of realities. The feminine aspect is negative, that is to say, internal, which is projected towards the interior of the being, connecting with the pulse that connects the matrix, the network, where everything is perceived without direction, but from perception and sensations. For this reason, the feminine design of reality, the woman, has developed more skills in tuning the fine senses, which allows her to be attentive to many things at the same time, while the man only focuses on a single specific point. So, like a spider, no matter what part of the tissue moves, she will feel you. Intuition is having the ability to feel in all directions, clearly perceiving more aspects interconnected. Therefore, the intuition is found in the pressure of the center, where all of the forces are united in one. And like the spider, to feel him, he needs patience. Patience is a great key to intuition. I am. The female body is biologically prepared for patience, since a female orgasm is more prolonged and expanded, not focused in a specific area. After sex, there is 9 months of gestation and slow changes. Then months when the baby will depend on her body for warmth and nutrition. Her body will feel the unity in the growth of the baby for years. The man, macho, comes off easily because his orgasm is fast. His role in the biological spectrum of gestation is fleeting and lasts only a few minutes. Therefore, the masculine design is conscious and fast, and the feminine is slow and subconscious, which allows women to be more capable of immersing themselves, of sustaining suffering for a longer time, of controlling many more emotions than men, of making alchemy with her body, of going to the depths of her soul. And this is the reason why women tend to awaken spiritually faster than men, and in greater quantity, because the inner sensitivity makes it easier for them to move in the pressure and the shadows. Patience is the attribute of the female body, as the term comes from the Latin patere, which means suffer. Patience is the attribute of one who suffers, of subfere, below the iron, that is, that supports a great weight. So, intuition is the ability to see clearly in the shadows, but to also be able to see well. I must dare to immerse myself in them and support their weight, that is, be patient. Patience is something almost impossible in a global civilization like the current one, in which we want everything now and quickly. I am. That is the true conceptual patriarchy. The need for everything to be right now, already, like a male orgasm. Phallocentric. To reach the depths of being, it is necessary to be patient, to feel the pressure, to contemplate. You will only be able to find intuition in the joy and expansion of the five senses through the tormenting orgasm of the orgasmic suffering of patience. Me. Is this why we live in a world with so much suffering? I am. Suffering is an option in life. You don't have to put yourself below anyone to find that center. You can turn patience into an art of contemplation, in which what was considered suffering and suffering from unconsciousness now becomes contemplation and growth from consciousness in the journey to the depths of the center of your being. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Only you can put on necessary weight of the world that you are willing to bear to find your capabilities. Every human awakens his ability under pressure, and when you break everything you thought you were, you find the light in the shadows, the intuition. Me. Intuiting, then, becomes the art of focusing the light on the shadows, of finding what was hidden in the pressures of my own being. I wish to awaken my intuition, to have the ability to perceive with my senses the light that lies within me, the clarity of my spirit in the center. I am. Well, learn from patience. Life only finds light in the pressure of birth after the pressure of gestation. Turn suffering into your inner journey. Free yourself from the cultural preconceptions that you have of this journey to the deep. Recognize that all things that have made you suffer, all the people who have led you to live the maximum pressure of your life, and recognize the brightness that they have managed to get out of you. Me. It's true. All of those that have made me suffer have achieved nothing other than awakening the brilliance with which I radiate today. I am. So, accept their pressure. Become a diamond, and in the brilliance of the crystallized veins, you will see reflected the clarity of your soul and spirit, and you will discover the shadows, the intuition, that will let you see beyond all time and spaces. Close your eyes and dream. There you can really see.